A slip at work. She said the CEO was sexy. The next day, he surprised her in his car. Before we begin, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from. And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. Emma Peterson's fingers flew across her keyboard, the rhythmic clicking punctuating the otherwise quiet marketing department. Most of her colleagues had already left for the day, but Emma had promised their biggest client a comprehensive campaign proposal by tomorrow morning. The office lights had dimmed to their energy-saving evening mode, casting her desk in a soft glow that made her eyes strain slightly. Just a few more slides, she mumbled to herself, taking a sip of her now-cold coffee. A notification popped up on her screen, a text from her roommate and best friend, Olivia. "Still at the office? Girl, you need to get a life outside those walls." Emma smiled and picked up her phone to reply, "Almost done. Besides, not everyone can be a free-spirited photographer who sets their own hours." "At least tell me there's eye candy to make the overtime worth it," Olivia texted back immediately. Emma glanced toward the corner office, where a light still shone. Lucas Bennett, the company's youngest ever creative director, was working late too. Through the glass walls, she could see him pacing, phone to his ear, gesturing with his free hand. At 32, just 4 years older than Emma, he'd already made a name for himself in the advertising world, with his innovative campaigns and uncanny ability to predict consumer trends. Her phone buzzed again. "Hello? Earth to Emma? Don't tell me you're staring at sexy boss man again." Emma felt her cheeks flush. Olivia knew her too well. She had been harboring what she considered a completely inappropriate crush on Lucas since her first interview 11 months ago. Not that she'd ever act on it. Emma was nothing if not professional, and workplace romances were definitely on her absolutely not list. Besides, Lucas barely seemed to notice her beyond her work contributions. "I need to finish this proposal," she texted back. "Talk later." Turning her attention back to her computer, Emma opened her email to send herself a draft of the presentation to review at home. She clicked on the compose button and started typing in her personal email address. The company's email system helpfully began auto-completing addresses as she typed. She attached the file and then, almost as an afterthought, decided to jot down some notes for herself about tweaks she wanted to make. Subject: North Star Proposal Draft. "Hey, attached is the draft I need to finish tonight. Still need to add competitor analysis to slide 7. Fix the budget breakdown. Find a better closing image. Also, remind me to tell you about today's meeting." Lucas was wearing that navy suit that makes his eyes look ridiculously blue. How is it legal for someone to look that good in a suit? The way he rolls up his sleeves when he gets deep into creative discussions should be classified as a workplace hazard. Seriously, those forearms, and when he actually laughed at my suggestion for the tagline, I nearly melted into the conference room floor. Is it pathetic that the highlight of my day was my boss finding my idea not terrible? Probably. But you don't understand. He's not just sexy, Liv. He's brilliant and driven and surprisingly kind when he's not being intimidatingly perfect. Today he brought coffee for the entire team because we all stayed late yesterday. He remembered I take mine with almond milk. He remembered my coffee order. Anyway, I'm being ridiculous. Back to work for me. Emma yawned, rubbing her eyes. She clicked send without a second thought, then gathered her things. She was shoving her laptop into her bag when she noticed Lucas emerging from his office. He nodded in her direction. "Still here, Peterson?" "Just finishing up the North Star proposal," she replied, proud that her voice sounded completely normal, despite the way her heart had accelerated. "I'll have it ready for the morning meeting." He gave her a small smile. "I'm sure it will be excellent as always. Don't stay too much longer. Even dedicated employees need rest." "Heading out now," she assured him, slinging her bag over her shoulder. "Good night, Mr. Bennett." "Lucas," he corrected, not for the first time. "After 11 months, I think we can drop the formality." "Right. Good night, Lucas." He held the elevator for her, and they rode down in companionable silence. In the lobby, they parted with a brief wave, him to his sleek Audi, her to the subway station. It wasn't until Emma was settled on the train that she opened her phone again and saw a new text from Olivia. Em, did you mean to send me an email just now? Because I didn't get anything." A cold feeling of dread began to spread through Emma's body. She opened her email app and checked her sent messages. There it was, the North Star proposal email with all her embarrassing commentary. But the recipient wasn't her personal email address. It had gone to all staff, the entire company, every single employee, including Lucas Bennett. Emma's stomach plummeted to somewhere around her ankles. She actually felt the blood drain from her face as her fingers frantically tapped on her phone, searching for a way to recall the email. But she knew it was already too late. Company emails couldn't be unsent once delivered. Her phone began buzzing with notifications. First came a sympathetic message from Jason in graphic design. "Rough night, Peterson. Don't worry, we've all been there." Then from Angela in accounts. "Girl, you've got guts." By the time Emma stumbled into her apartment 20 minutes later, she'd received no fewer than 15 texts from co-workers. Some were amused, others supportive, a few mildly scandalized. None, thankfully, from Lucas himself. Olivia was waiting on the couch, eyes wide. "Emma Christine Peterson, please tell me you didn't just email the entire company about how hot your boss is." Emma dropped her bag on the floor and collapsed face first onto the couch. Her muffled voice emerged from the cushions. "I'm going to have to move, change my name, maybe leave the country." "Let me see exactly what you said," Olivia demanded, holding out her hand for Emma's phone. Emma reluctantly handed it over, watching her friend's expression shift from concern to amusement to outright laughter. "Oh my God, Em, those forearms, intimidatingly perfect." Olivia was practically cackling now. "You're absolutely screwed." "Thanks for the support," Emma groaned, snatching her phone back. "I've worked so hard to be taken seriously, and now I'm going to be known as the girl who drools over the boss. I'll never get that promotion now." "Or maybe," Olivia suggested, wiggling her eyebrows, "this is the universe forcing you to finally admit your feelings to the man." "There are no feelings to admit," Emma protested. "It's just a physical attraction, completely superficial and completely inappropriate, and now completely public." She buried her face in a throw pillow. "I'm going to have to quit." "Don't be dramatic. People will forget about it in a week when some other office drama happens." "Easy for you to say. You don't have to walk in there tomorrow and face everyone. Face him." Emma's phone buzzed again. She looked at it warily, then froze. "What?" Olivia asked. "Who is it?" It's a text from Lucas," Emma whispered, staring at her phone as if it might explode. "Well, what does it say?" With trembling fingers, Emma opened the message. "Peterson, I assume you're mortified right now. Don't be. We're all entitled to our private thoughts, even if they occasionally become accidentally public. The North Star meeting has been moved to their office across town tomorrow. I'll pick you up at 8. We can discuss damage control then. And for the record, I take my coffee black, 2 sugars. See you in the morning." Emma read the message 3 times before wordlessly handing the phone to Olivia. "Holy shit," Olivia breathed after reading it. Is he flirting with you?" "No," Emma said automatically. "He's being nice, professional. Probably doesn't want me to quit before the North Star presentation." The coffee comment. That was definitely flirting. It was a joke to make me feel less humiliated. Emma stood up and began pacing. "Oh God, what am I going to wear tomorrow? How do I act normal, sitting in a car with him after he's read that?" "Wear the green dress," Olivia said decisively. "It makes your eyes pop and shows just enough leg to be professional but interesting." "Liv, I'm not trying to seduce him. I'm trying to salvage what's left of my professional reputation." "Who says you can't do both?" Olivia grinned. "Come on, let's raid your closet and then open a bottle of wine. You're going to need liquid courage to sleep tonight." 3 hours and 2 glasses of wine later, Emma lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. She had finally settled on a charcoal pencil skirt and an emerald silk blouse, professional but still flattering. Olivia had insisted on laying out heels instead of Emma's usual flats, arguing that confidence was key tomorrow. Her phone buzzed one more time. Another text from Lucas. And Emma, for what it's worth, that tagline wasn't just not terrible, it was brilliant. Your creative instincts are one of the reasons I fought to hire you. Get some sleep. Emma read and reread the message, a strange warmth spreading through her chest that had nothing to do with the wine. What exactly was happening? Was he just being kind, or was there something more to his response? Sleep proved elusive as Emma's mind raced through every possible scenario for tomorrow morning's car ride. By the time her alarm went off, she had managed perhaps 3 hours of restless sleep, and her stomach was tied in knots of anxiety. She dressed carefully, applied a touch more makeup than usual to hide the dark circles under her eyes, and attempted to eat a piece of toast that tasted like cardboard in her nervous state. At precisely 5 minutes to 8, her phone buzzed with a text. Downstairs. Taking a deep breath, Emma grabbed her presentation materials, gave herself one last glance in the mirror, and headed down to face what would either be the most mortifying or most interesting car ride of her life. Outside, Lucas's silver Audi was idling by the curb. As she approached, he leaned over and pushed open the passenger door. Emma slid in, immediately enveloped by the scent of expensive leather and his subtle cologne. "Good morning," she managed, her voice only slightly higher than normal. Lucas handed her a coffee cup. "Almond milk, right?" Their fingers brushed during the exchange, and Emma felt her cheeks flush. "Right, thank you." She took a sip, grateful for something to do with her hands. "About last night's email. We have a 30-minute drive to North Star," Lucas interrupted, pulling smoothly into traffic. "Plenty of time to discuss your inadvertent company-wide confessional. But first," he glanced at her with a hint of a smile, "is that proposal ready to knock their socks off?" Emma blinked, thrown by his casual tone. Yes, I think they're going to love it." "Good. Then let's start with that. Walk me through your key points." And just like that, he gave her the gift of normalcy, a chance to find her professional footing before addressing the elephant in the car. As Emma began outlining her presentation strategy, she felt her anxiety slowly giving way to the familiar confidence she felt when discussing her work. Whatever came next, at least Lucas Bennett still saw her as a valuable employee. For now, that would have to be enough. The North Star presentation went better than Emma could have dared hope. The clients were enthusiastic about her concepts, and Lucas had backed her play at every turn, deferring to her expertise in a way that made her feel both valued and slightly disoriented. Every time he said, "Emma has some excellent insights on this," or "I'll let Emma explain our approach here," she felt a curious mixture of professional pride and acute awareness of yesterday's email disaster. Now, as they walked out of the North Star headquarters, Emma's professional high was giving way to the reality she'd temporarily forgotten. She still had to face the office after her mortifying email. "That," Lucas said as they reached his car, "was exceptional work, Peterson." "Thank you," she replied, trying not to sound too pleased. They seemed excited about the direction. Lucas opened the passenger door for her, an old-fashioned gesture that seemed strangely natural coming from him. They were practically salivating. "You've got a gift for understanding what clients want before they know it themselves." Once they were both settled in the car, Lucas didn't immediately start the engine. Instead, he turned slightly toward Emma, his expression becoming more serious. "So, about that email." And there it was. Emma felt her cheeks burning already. "I'm so sorry," she began, the words tumbling out in a rush. "It was completely unprofessional and inappropriate, and I promise it won't affect our working relationship in any way." Lucas held up a hand to stop her. "Emma, breathe." She inhaled shakily, forcing herself to meet his gaze. "First," he said, "I'm not offended. Flattered, actually." Emma wished the leather seat would simply swallow her whole. "Second, I'm more concerned about how this affects you than how it affects me." Office gossip can be brutal, especially toward women. She hadn't expected that. Most bosses would be concerned primarily with potential HR issues or their own discomfort. I've already spoken with HR, he continued. Not about you, he added quickly, seeing her alarmed expression. About how we address this company-wide. Janice suggested a brief email reminding everyone about respectful workplace behavior without specifically mentioning yesterday's incident. That sounds reasonable, Emma said carefully, but there's still the matter of your comfort level. Do you want to continue reporting directly to me? I could arrange for you to work more closely with Sarah for a while, if that would make things easier. The thought of being reassigned made Emma's stomach twist. Despite her embarrassment, she didn't want to lose the creative synergy she had with Lucas. And being shuffled to another supervisor would only confirm office gossip that something inappropriate was happening. No, she said firmly. That would only make things worse. I'd rather just face this head-on and let it blow over naturally. Lucas studied her for a moment, then nodded. I admire that approach. He finally started the car. For what it's worth, I think you're handling this with remarkable grace. They drove in silence for a few minutes before Lucas spoke again. You know, when I was 26, I accidentally sent an email to my entire agency criticizing our CEO's strategy on our biggest account. His tone was conversational, as if sharing an amusing anecdote at a dinner party. Emma turned to look at him, momentarily forgetting her own embarrassment. What happened? I was fired. He said it so matter-of-factly that Emma almost laughed. But not before the CEO called me into his office and asked me to defend my criticism. And did you? A smile played at the corners of his mouth. I did. Passionately and in excruciating detail. I figured if I was going down, I might as well go down swinging. Then what? Then he offered me a job at his new startup. Said anyone with the guts to tell him he was wrong, even accidentally, was someone he wanted on his team. Lucas glanced at her. That startup became Bennett and Crowell. 3 years later, I was the youngest creative director in New York. Emma processed this new information. So your last name isn't just a coincidence. You're that Bennett? He shrugged. My father. He retired 2 years ago and left me in charge of the creative department. I had no idea, Emma said, feeling slightly dazed. Everyone knew Bennett and Crowell was founded by advertising legend Robert Bennett, but Lucas had never advertised his connection. Why didn't you ever mention it? Would you want to be known primarily as the boss's son? He raised an eyebrow. I prefer to be judged on my own merits. Emma could understand that. She'd worked hard to build her reputation on solid work, not networking or connections. The point is, Lucas continued, embarrassing email mishaps aren't the end of the world. Sometimes they're even the beginning of something interesting. There was something in his tone that made Emma glance sharply at him, but his expression revealed nothing as he navigated through traffic. Well, I'm not expecting a promotion out of this particular mishap, she said dryly. Lucas laughed, a genuine sound that Emma had rarely heard from him. No, but you're not getting fired either. Unlike my situation, your email didn't question anyone's professional competence, just my own professional boundaries, Emma muttered. They were approaching the office now, and Emma felt her anxiety returning. Lucas must have sensed her tension because he said, Would you prefer to work remotely today? I could make your excuses. The offer was tempting, but Emma shook her head. No. Hiding would only make it worse. Then may I suggest a strategy? Please. Own it. Not the content necessarily, but the mistake. Walk in there like it's a minor embarrassment rather than a catastrophe. People follow social cues. If you act mortified, they'll make it a bigger deal. It was good advice, even if following it would require acting skills Emma wasn't sure she possessed. Also, he added as they pulled into the parking garage, I've arranged an all-hands meeting at 10 to discuss the North Star win. It will give everyone something else to focus on. Emma felt a rush of gratitude. He really had thought of everything. Thank you for all of this. Lucas parked in his reserved spot and turned off the engine. Before Emma could reach for her door handle, he spoke again, his voice different somehow, less polished, more hesitant. "Emma, there's something else I should—" His phone rang, cutting him off. He glanced at it and frowned. "I need to take this. It's my father." He gave her an apologetic look. "Rain check on that conversation." "Of course." Emma gathered her things, curiosity piqued, but professional enough not to show it. "And thanks again for the ride." "Any time," he said, already answering the call as she stepped out of the car. Walking into the office was every bit as uncomfortable as Emma had anticipated. Conversations paused as she passed, followed by poorly concealed whispers. She kept her chin up, remembering Lucas's advice, and headed straight for her desk. She'd barely sat down when Zoe from the digital team appeared, perching on the edge of Emma's desk with an expression of gleeful curiosity. "So," Zoe said without preamble, "you and Bennett, huh?" "There is no me and Bennett," Emma replied, keeping her voice even as she booted up her computer. "There was only me late at night sending an email to the wrong address. But he picked you up this morning. Cassie from reception saw you getting out of his car." News traveled at light speed in this office. "We had a client meeting across town." "Uh-huh." Zoe looked unconvinced. "And the coffee order thing? He actually remembers how you take your coffee?" Emma sighed. "Zoe, I appreciate your interest, but I'd really rather not turn my professional embarrassment into today's entertainment." "Fair enough," Zoe conceded, though she didn't move from her perch. "But just so you know, half the women in this office would kill to have the boss look at them the way he looks at you during presentations." Before Emma could formulate a response to that unsettling statement, her desk phone rang. "I should take this," she said, grateful for the interruption. Zoe slid off the desk with a knowing smile. "This conversation isn't over, Peterson." The morning crawled by in a series of similar interactions, some subtle, others embarrassingly direct. By the time the all-hands meeting rolled around, Emma was exhausted from maintaining her facade of casual composure. She slipped into the conference room and took a seat near the back, hoping to avoid attention. To her dismay, Lucas spotted her immediately. "Emma, up front, please. You should present the North Star win, since it was your strategy that sealed the deal." Whispers rippled through the room as Emma made her way to the front, feeling every eye on her. Lucas gave her an encouraging nod as she took her place beside him. "As most of you know," he began, addressing the room, "North Star Media has agreed to a 6-month contract worth $3.5 million. This is the largest new client we've secured this quarter, and it's largely thanks to Emma Peterson's innovative approach." Emma felt a strange mix of pride and discomfort as Lucas detailed her contributions to the pitch. On one hand, it was gratifying to have her work recognized so publicly. On the other, she couldn't help wondering if some would see this as special treatment in light of yesterday's email. When Lucas finished his overview, he turned to Emma. "Would you like to walk everyone through the campaign concept?" She hadn't prepared for this, but years of pitching ideas had made her adept at improvisation. For the next 15 minutes, she outlined the North Star strategy, finding her confidence growing with each slide. The room's energy shifted perceptibly. People were engaged with the work, asking thoughtful questions, forgetting about yesterday's scandal in the excitement of a major new account. By the time the meeting concluded, Emma felt something close to normal. Several colleagues congratulated her as they filed out, their focus clearly on her professional achievement rather than her personal faux pas. Lucas hung back until the room had emptied. "Well done," he said quietly. "I think you successfully changed the narrative." "Your idea worked perfectly," Emma admitted. "Thank you. I merely provided the platform. You did all the heavy lifting." He gathered his notes, then added casually, "Would you be available for dinner tonight? There are some aspects of the North Star strategy I'd like to discuss further, and I have another meeting after this that will likely run late." Emma hesitated, alarm bells ringing faintly in her mind. A business dinner wasn't unusual, especially with a major new client in play, but the timing felt significant. Just business, Lucas clarified, clearly reading her hesitation. At Luciano's, 7 o'clock. Luciano's was a high-end Italian restaurant, but importantly, it was also very public and popular with the business crowd, not the setting for anything inappropriate. "I'll be there," Emma agreed. "Excellent, I'll make the reservation." He headed for the door, then paused. "And Emma, that outfit suits you. The green brings out your eyes." Before she could respond, he was gone, leaving Emma to wonder if Olivia might have been right after all. The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings and follow-up calls with North Star. By 6:30, Emma was in the office restroom, refreshing her makeup and trying to quiet the flutter of nerves in her stomach. "Hot date?" asked Angela from accounting, appearing beside her at the mirrors. "Business dinner," Emma corrected, applying a fresh coat of nude lipstick. "With Lucas, about North Star." Angela raised her eyebrows. "Of course it is." "It is," Emma insisted, though she couldn't quite meet Angela's eyes in the mirror. "Well, whatever you call it, you might want these." Angela pulled a pack of mints from her purse and handed them to Emma with a wink. "Just in case business turns into pleasure." Emma's protest died on her lips as Angela sashayed out of the restroom. Was she really that transparent? Or was everyone just seeing what they wanted to see because of that stupid email? By the time Emma arrived at Luciano's, she'd talked herself into and out of a dozen different scenarios. Lucas was waiting at the bar, looking unfairly handsome in his work suit, with the top button of his shirt undone. He stood as she approached. "Right on time," he said, guiding her toward a secluded corner table with a hand that hovered near, but didn't quite touch, the small of her back. Once they were seated, Lucas ordered a bottle of wine, an expensive Barolo that Emma recognized from her sommelier roommate's endless wine tastings. The waiter poured them each a glass and took their dinner orders before discreetly withdrawing. "So," Emma said, deciding to take control of the situation, "what aspects of the North Star campaign did you want to discuss?" Lucas took a sip of his wine, regarding her thoughtfully over the rim of his glass. "Actually, I wanted to discuss something else entirely." Emma's pulse quickened. "Oh? I didn't bring you here to talk about work, Emma. I brought you here because after your email, I think we need to have an honest conversation about our professional relationship." The way he hesitated before professional made Emma's mouth go dry. She took a fortifying sip of wine. "I'm listening," she managed. Lucas leaned forward slightly. "The thing is, I've been aware of a certain tension between us for some time now." Emma felt her cheeks grow warm. "Lucas, please, let me finish," he said gently. "This isn't easy for me." She nodded, bracing herself for what might come next. "I've prided myself on maintaining appropriate boundaries with everyone who works for me. It's important to me that Bennett and Crowell is a place where talent is recognized on merit alone." His expression was more serious than she'd ever seen it. "But I'd be lying if I said I haven't found myself thinking about you in ways that go beyond professional admiration." Emma felt like she might need the entire bottle of wine to process what she was hearing. "Your email was illuminating," he continued, a ghost of a smile touching his lips, "and surprisingly aligned with thoughts I've been careful not to put in writing. Are you saying—" "I'm saying that I find you incredibly intelligent, creative and, yes, attractive," Lucas said, his voice dropping slightly on the last word. "And I've been fighting that attraction because I'm your boss, and that creates a problematic power dynamic." Emma took another sip of wine, buying herself a moment to think. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because your email changed things. Now everyone already thinks there's something between us, so the professional damage is essentially done." He shrugged slightly. "And because life's too short for regrets. I'd rather be honest with you and figure out how to navigate this ethically than pretend I don't feel what I feel." It was surreal hearing Lucas Bennett, always so controlled, so professionally impeccable, speak so openly about his feelings. Emma's mind raced, trying to process what this meant. "So, what exactly are you suggesting?" she asked carefully. I'm not suggesting anything yet, Lucas replied. Right now, I'm just acknowledging reality. What happens next depends on two things: whether these feelings are actually mutual, and if they are, whether we can find a way forward that doesn't compromise your career or my professional ethics. The waiter returned with their appetizers, creating a brief pause in the conversation. When they were alone again, Emma found her voice. The feelings are mutual, she admitted quietly. But I don't see how this could work. Office relationships are complicated enough without the power imbalance. Lucas nodded. I've been giving that considerable thought. There are options. You could transfer to another department. I could recuse myself from decisions affecting your compensation or promotion, or, he hesitated briefly, you could consider the offer from Visionary Media. Emma stared at him. How do you know about that? Marcus Conrad called me last week for a reference. He speaks very highly of you. The job offer from Visionary, a rival agency, had arrived 2 days ago. Emma hadn't mentioned it to anyone at Bennett and Crowell yet, still unsure if she wanted to leave. You wouldn't mind if I went to work for a competitor? She asked, surprised. Professionally? I'd hate to lose you. Personally? His eyes held hers. It would remove the main ethical barrier between us. The implications of what he was saying hung in the air between them. Their meals arrived, though Emma found her appetite had vanished, replaced by a swirl of conflicting emotions. This is a lot to process, she said finally. I know, and I don't expect an answer tonight. Lucas's expression softened. Take your time. Think about what you want, professionally and personally. Whatever you decide, I'll respect it. Emma studied him, trying to reconcile this open, vulnerable version of Lucas with the polished professional she'd worked with for nearly a year. Why me? She found herself asking. You could have anyone. A genuine smile spread across his face. You really don't see yourself clearly, do you? You're brilliant, Emma. Passionate about your work. Uncompromising in your standards. Not to mention, his voice took on a teasing quality, those green eyes that apparently warrant company-wide email alerts. Despite herself, Emma laughed. I'm never going to live that down, am I? Not if I have anything to say about it. His expression grew more serious again. But Emma, whatever happens between us, or doesn't happen, your career matters to me. I meant what I said about your talent. Don't make this decision based on feelings that might be temporary. Make it based on what's best for your future. It was exactly what she needed to hear. Confirmation that he saw her as more than just an object of attraction. That her professional worth wasn't tied to his personal interest. As they finished their meal, the conversation drifted to safer topics, books they'd both read, a documentary series Lucas recommended, Emma's photography hobby. It felt surprisingly easy, this non-work interaction, as if they'd been friends all along beneath the professional veneer. When Lucas paid the bill, insisting it was on the company since they had discussed North Star strategies earlier, Emma found herself reluctant for the evening to end. Can I drive you home? Lucas offered, as they stepped outside into the cool evening air. Emma shook her head. I think I need the walk to clear my head. Of course. Yucko. He looked like he wanted to say more, but instead simply added, Text me when you get home safely. I will. They stood there for a moment, caught in an awkward limbo, no longer quite boss and employee, not yet anything else defined. Good night, Emma, Lucas said finally, taking a deliberate step back. Good night. As Emma walked away, her phone buzzed with a text from Lucas. For the record, navy suit or not, your ideas would still be brilliant, but I'll make a note to wear it for important presentations. Despite everything, Emma smiled. Whatever she decided about Visionary's offer, about Lucas, about her future, one thing was clear. That accidental email had indeed changed everything. Emma spent the weekend oscillating between practical career planning and replaying every moment of her dinner with Lucas. By Monday morning, she still hadn't reached a decision about the Visionary offer, but she had concluded one thing. She needed more information before making any life-altering choices. You're overthinking this, Olivia said, watching Emma try on her fourth outfit of the morning. The man literally told you he's into you. What more do you need to know? I need to know if I'd be making a huge mistake, Emma replied, discarding a blazer that suddenly seemed too formal. What if it doesn't work out? I'd have left a job I love for a relationship that failed. Olivia countered. What if it does work out and you've found both an amazing career opportunity and a great guy? Emma sighed, finally settling on a simple navy dress with a subtle pattern. Professional, but not severe. The visionary job is good, but lateral, not the step up I was hoping for. Sometimes sideways moves open unexpected doors, Olivia pointed out. Besides, Marcus Conrad is a legend in advertising. Working directly under him could be huge for your career. Working directly under Lucas is pretty valuable too, Emma muttered, then blushed at her unintentional double entendre. Career-wise, I mean. Olivia snorted. Sure you did. As Emma entered the office building, she felt an unfamiliar nervousness. The weekend's distance had given her perspective on her dinner with Lucas, but had done nothing to dampen the flutter in her stomach at the thought of seeing him again. She'd just stepped off the elevator when Sarah Chen, the marketing director, intercepted her. Emma, just the person I was looking for. Can I borrow you for a few minutes? Sarah was technically Emma's supervisor, though in practice Emma reported directly to Lucas on most projects. In her mid-40s, Sarah was one of the few women in senior leadership at Bennett and Crowell, and someone Emma deeply respected. Of course, Emma replied, following Sarah to her office. Once the door closed behind them, Sarah's professional smile faded. I'll be direct. There are rumors circulating about you and Lucas, and they're gaining traction after you two disappeared for dinner Friday night. Emma's heart sank. It was a business dinner, about North Star. Sarah gave her a look that said she wasn't born yesterday. Emma, I consider you a friend as well as a colleague, so I'm going to speak plainly. Whatever is or isn't happening between you and Lucas Bennett is your business until it affects this department, at which point it becomes my business. Nothing is happening, Emma said, though the protest sounded weak even to her own ears. The optics suggest otherwise. Sarah's expression softened slightly. Look, I know that email was an embarrassing accident, and I know Lucas well enough to believe he wouldn't take advantage of the situation, but perception matters in this industry. What exactly are you suggesting? Emma asked, a defensive edge creeping into her voice. I'm suggesting you be careful. Office relationships are complicated enough without adding a power differential, and I'd hate to see your considerable talents overshadowed by office gossip. Sarah leaned forward. You've worked too hard to be reduced to the girl sleeping with the boss. Emma felt her cheeks burn. That's not what's happening. Maybe not, but it's what people are saying. Sarah's tone was matter-of-fact rather than judgmental. Just consider how your actions might be perceived. And remember that in this industry, reputation is currency. I understand, Emma said stiffly. Sarah studied her for a moment. I hope you do. For what it's worth, I think you're one of the most promising talents in this department. I'd hate to see that potential compromised. With that parting shot, Sarah dismissed her with a nod. Emma left the office feeling like she'd been simultaneously complimented and reprimanded. The conversation with Sarah cast a shadow over Emma's morning. She buried herself in work, responding to emails with mechanical efficiency, while her mind churned with conflicting emotions. Around 11, her phone buzzed with a text from Lucas. Free for lunch. I'm thinking that Thai place around the corner. Emma stared at the message. Under normal circumstances, a lunch invitation from her boss would be unremarkable. But now, with Sarah's warning fresh in her mind and the office rumour mill already working overtime, it felt loaded with implications. Better not, she typed back. Deadline on the Allied Bank materials, going to eat at my desk. There was a pause before his response came. Understood. Rain check then. By the way, is everything okay? You seemed tense in the morning meeting." Emma glanced toward Lucas's office. He was on the phone, but his eyes met hers briefly through the glass walls. She looked away quickly. "Had an interesting chat with Sarah this morning. Apparently we're the subject of office gossip." She watched as Lucas read her message, his expression changing subtly. He ended his call and typed a response. "My office? 5 minutes?" Emma hesitated, then replied with a simple, "Okay." 5 minutes later, she knocked on Lucas's door, conscious of curious glances from her colleagues. "Close the door," Lucas said as she entered. His expression was serious, professional. Nothing in his demeanor suggested anything beyond a normal work discussion. Once the door was shut, he gestured for her to sit. "What did Sarah say?" Emma recounted the conversation, watching Lucas's expression darken slightly. "I see," he said when she finished. "I should have anticipated this. I apologize if I've made your position here uncomfortable." "It's not your fault," Emma sighed. "The email started it. Friday night just added fuel to the fire." Lucas nodded, then was quiet for a moment, seeming to weigh his words carefully. "Emma, I meant what I said Friday. Whatever happens between us, professionally or personally, your career comes first. If that means we need to establish clearer boundaries, I respect that." There was something in his tone, a careful neutrality, that made Emma wonder if he was already pulling back. The thought bothered her more than she wanted to admit. "I haven't made any decisions yet," she said, "about visionary or anything else." "Of course. You shouldn't rush something this important." His phone buzzed, and he glanced at it. "I have to take this. It's the North Star CMO." Emma recognized the dismissal and stood to leave. As she reached the door, Lucas added, "For what it's worth, Emma, I think you'd be an asset to any agency lucky enough to have you, including Visionary." It was a professional compliment, nothing more, but something in his eyes conveyed a deeper meaning. Emma nodded and slipped out, feeling the weight of curious stares as she returned to her desk. The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings and deadlines. Emma stayed late, partly to catch up on work she'd neglected while distracted, and partly to avoid running into Lucas again before she'd sorted out her thoughts. By 7:30, the office had emptied except for a few dedicated workaholics. Emma was packing up to leave when her desk phone rang. She answered automatically. "Peterson." "Emma, it's Mark from security. There's someone here to see you, a Marcus Conrad. Says he has a dinner appointment with you." Emma checked the time, startled. She'd completely forgotten that she'd agreed to meet Marcus tonight to discuss the visionary offer in more detail. "Yes, tell him I'll be right down. She quickly gathered her things, wondering if Lucas was still in the building and what he'd think if he saw her leaving with the creative director of a competing agency. Not that it should matter. She had every right to explore her options. Still, the timing felt awkward. Marcus Conrad was waiting in the lobby, his distinctive silver hair and tailored suit making him stand out even among the typically well-dressed agency crowd. At 52, he was an industry veteran with a reputation for mentoring young talent. "Emma," he greeted her warmly, "hope I'm not pulling you away from anything crucial." "Not at all," she assured him, accepting his brief hug. "Just lost track of time. Occupational hazard in our business." He smiled. "I've made reservations at Le Bernardin. I hope that works for you." Emma blinked at the mention of one of the most exclusive restaurants in the city. "That's very generous." "Visionary believes in demonstrating how we value talent," Marcus replied smoothly. "Shall we?" His town car was waiting outside. As Marcus held the door for her, Emma glanced back at the building and froze. Lucas was exiting the lobby, his expression shifting from tired to surprised as he spotted her. His eyes moved from Emma to Marcus, recognition dawning on his face. For a moment, no one moved. Then Marcus, ever the professional, extended his hand. "Bennett, good to see you again." "Conrad." Lucas shook the offered hand, his expression neutral. "Poaching my staff in person now?" Marcus laughed. "Just having dinner with a promising talent. You've done well with this one." "I'm aware," Lucas replied, his eyes meeting Emma's briefly. "Emma, is one of our stars." The tension was subtle but unmistakable. Emma felt caught between two powerful men in more ways than one. "Well, we should get going. Our reservation awaits," Marcus said smoothly. "Bennett, always a pleasure." "Enjoy your evening," Lucas said, his tone perfectly cordial, though his eyes had cooled. He nodded to Emma. "See you tomorrow, Peterson." As their car pulled away, Emma couldn't help glancing back. Lucas stood watching them go, his expression unreadable in the gathering dusk. "So," Marcus said, breaking into her thoughts, "how long have you and Lucas Bennett been an item?" Emma startled. "We're not. He's my boss." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "I've been in this business 30 years, Emma. I know that look when I see it, but it's none of my concern who you date." He smiled disarmingly. "Unless, of course, it factors into your decision about our offer." "It doesn't," Emma said, perhaps too quickly. "My career decisions are based on professional considerations, not personal ones." "Good to hear." Marcus settled back in his seat. "Because the opportunity at Visionary is substantial. You'd be leading your own team within 6 months, assuming you perform as well as I expect you to." This was news. "The position you described was senior strategist, not team lead. That's the starting point. I believe in setting achievable stepping stones." His eyes were shrewd. "Bennett has you creating brilliant work, but are you advancing at the pace you deserve?" It was a fair question. Despite her contributions, Emma was still technically in a mid-level position at Bennett and Crowell. "Lucas values my work," she said carefully. "I'm sure he does." Marcus's tone suggested multiple interpretations of that statement. "But I'm offering more than appreciation, Emma. I'm offering advancement, a clear path upward." The dinner that followed was equal parts job interview and recruitment pitch. Marcus was charming and articulate, painting a compelling picture of Emma's future at Visionary. By dessert, she had to admit the opportunity sounded increasingly attractive. Faster advancement, creative freedom, and the chance to build something from the ground up. "I don't need your answer tonight," Marcus said as they finished their coffee. "Take a few days. But know that we're eager to have you on board." The car dropped Emma at her apartment just after 10. As she unlocked her door, her phone buzzed with a text from Lucas. "Conrad's a good closer. Whatever he offered, I hope it's worth your talent." Emma stared at the message, unsure how to read his tone. Was he bitter, resigned, just making conversation? Before she could decide how to respond, another text arrived. "For clarity, that wasn't me trying to convince you to stay, just an observation from someone who's negotiated with Marcus before. You deserve whatever he offered and more." The unexpected generosity of the statement caught Emma off guard. Most bosses would attempt to counteroffer or highlight the downsides of leaving. Instead, Lucas seemed genuinely concerned with what was best for her, even if that meant losing her to a competitor. "Dinner was interesting," she replied finally. "Lots to think about." His response came quickly. "I'm sure. Sleep well, Emma." Emma spent another restless night weighing her options. By morning, she'd decided to talk to one more person before making her decision, someone with no personal stake in the outcome. She found David Wu, the agency's venerable chief strategy officer, alone in the break room. At 68, David had announced his retirement for the end of the year and had increasingly taken on a mentorship role with the agency's younger talent. "David, do you have a few minutes?" Emma asked. "For you, always." He gestured to the empty chair opposite him. "What's on your mind?" Emma took a breath. "If I asked for your completely unbiased professional opinion, with the understanding that it stays between us, would you give it to me?" David's eyes twinkled. "Sounds intriguing. Consider me your confidential advisor." "I've been offered a position at Visionary," Emma said without preamble. "Senior strategist, with a path to team lead within 6 months. Better salary, more creative control." "Ah," David nodded thoughtfully. "Marcus has good taste. And what's keeping you from accepting immediately?" Emma hesitated. "I value what I've built here. The relationships, the clients, the work." "Lucas," David supplied calmly. Emma's eyes widened. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who's been watching people navigate office dynamics for 40 years. David's smile was kind. You two have a creative chemistry that's rare in this business. And something more, perhaps? It's complicated, Emma admitted. The best things usually are. David took a sip of his tea. So, you're wondering if leaving would be professional growth or running away? Exactly. Emma was relieved to have her dilemma so precisely articulated. Here's my unvarnished opinion, Emma. You're exceptionally talented. You'd succeed at Visionary or anywhere else. David leaned forward. But talent isn't the only factor in a satisfying career. There's also environment, mentorship, growth potential, and yes, relationships, professional and otherwise. What would you do? David considered this. I'd ask myself one question. 5 years from now, which decision would I regret not exploring? He stood, gathering his things. For what it's worth, in my experience, agencies come and go. Creative connections like what you and Lucas share. Those are rarer than agencies want to admit. With that cryptic advice, David left Emma alone with her thoughts. She was still sitting there when Lucas appeared in the doorway. "Team meeting in 10, he said, then hesitated. "Everything okay?" "Just thinking," Emma replied. "I'll be right there." Lucas nodded and disappeared. Emma took a deep breath, suddenly clear about what she needed to do. The team meeting was routine, updates on current projects, timelines for upcoming pitches. Emma participated normally, though she was acutely aware of Lucas's presence at the head of the table. Once or twice, she caught him watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. As the meeting dispersed, Lucas called out, "Emma, could you stay back a moment?" Her colleagues filed out, a few giving knowing looks that Emma pretended not to see. When they were alone, Lucas closed the door. "I've been thinking about your situation," he began, remaining by the door rather than returning to his seat. "And I want to make something clear. Whatever you decide about Visionary, nothing changes between us professionally. No awkwardness, no hard feelings." "I appreciate that," Emma said. "That said," he continued, "I have a responsibility to this agency to retain top talent. So, officially speaking, I'd like to counter Visionary's offer." Emma hadn't expected this. "With what?" "Senior creative strategist. Your own team, effective immediately, 10% above whatever Marcus offered you." It was a substantial promotion, essentially leapfrogging her over several colleagues. "Why haven't you offered this before?" Emma asked, a hint of challenge in her voice. "Because it wasn't my decision alone," Lucas admitted. "My father still has a significant say in senior promotions, and he's traditional in his timeline expectations. But I've convinced him that we can't afford to lose you." Emma absorbed this. "And unofficially speaking," Lucas's professional demeanor slipped slightly. "Unofficially, the thought of not seeing you every day is unpleasant. But that's not why I'm making this offer. I know." And she did. Lucas had demonstrated repeatedly that he valued her professional contributions independent of any personal feelings. "So," he said, "what are you thinking?" Emma took a deep breath. "I'm thinking I need to give Marcus Conrad an answer by Friday, and I'd like until then to consider both offers properly." Lucas nodded, though something like disappointment flickered briefly in his eyes. "Of course. Take all the time you need." As Emma turned to leave, Lucas added, "Emma, whatever you decide, I meant what I said Friday night. Some things are worth navigating ethical complexities for." The words followed Emma throughout the day, through meetings and client calls and the mundane tasks that filled her workday. By 5 o'clock, she'd made her decision. She texted Marcus and asked to meet the following evening to discuss the offer further. His response was prompt and pleased. "Wonderful. My office 6 p.m. Looking forward to it." Emma then sent a message to Lucas. "Can we talk, not at the office?" His reply came minutes later. "My place? 7:30? Emma hesitated, then typed, "That works. Send me the address." The address Lucas sent was in Tribeca, an upscale neighborhood but not ostentatious. Emma spent more time than she'd care to admit choosing an outfit that evening, something that didn't scream, "I'm here on business," but also didn't suggest, "I'm here for anything else." She settled on dark jeans, a silk blouse and a tailored jacket, casual but put together. As the Uber pulled up to the converted warehouse building, Emma felt a familiar flutter of nerves. This conversation would shape not just her career, but potentially her personal life as well. Lucas answered the door on her first knock, as if he'd been waiting nearby. He'd changed from his work clothes into jeans and a simple grey Henley that made him look younger and less like the polished executive she was accustomed to seeing. "Come in," he said, stepping back to let her enter. "Can I get you something to drink? Wine, scotch, something stronger?" "Wine would be nice," Emma replied, taking in the space as Lucas moved toward the kitchen. His apartment was surprisingly warm for a bachelor pad, spacious but not cavernous, with comfortable furniture and walls lined with bookshelves. Art hung on the exposed brick walls, not the generic corporate pieces she might have expected, but vibrant contemporary works mixed with black and white photography. "Your place is lovely," she said, as Lucas returned with 2 glasses of red wine. "Not what I expected." "What did you expect?" he asked, handing her a glass. "Something more minimalist. Chrome and leather, maybe. Bachelor chic." Lucas smiled. "My mother's an interior designer. She'd disown me if I lived in a stereotype." He gestured toward the living area, where a comfortable sofa faced tall windows overlooking the city lights. They sat, leaving a careful distance between them. "So," Lucas said after a moment, "you wanted to talk." Emma took a sip of her wine, excellent as she'd expected, and gathered her thoughts. "I'm meeting with Marcus tomorrow." Lucas nodded, his expression neutral. "Have you made a decision?" "I'm leaning in a particular direction," Emma admitted. "But before I commit, there's something I need to know." "Which is?" Emma met his gaze directly. "If I stay at Bennett and Crowell, what exactly are we doing here, Lucas? Are we exploring whatever this is between us? Or are we pretending it doesn't exist for the sake of professionalism?" The directness of her question seemed to catch him off guard. He set his wine glass down carefully. "What do you want, Emma?" "I asked you first," she countered. A smile touched his lips. "Fair enough." He shifted to face her more directly. "If you stay, and if you want to explore this connection between us, then yes, I want that too, but it would have to be handled carefully, ethically." "Meaning?" "Meaning I'd recuse myself from decisions affecting your career advancement. Sarah would become your direct supervisor. Evaluations, raises, promotions, all of that would go through her and my father, not me." It was a thoughtful solution to the power imbalance problem, though not without its own complications. "And if I take the visionary job," Emma asked, "then there's no ethical dilemma at all." His eyes held hers. "Just 2 people in the same industry who are free to explore a relationship." Emma nodded slowly. "And you'd be okay with that? Working for competing agencies?" "It wouldn't be ideal," Lucas admitted, "but the advertising world is small. We'd figure it out." The fact that he'd considered both scenarios reassured Emma that he'd given this genuine thought, that it wasn't just a passing attraction or a convenient possibility. "I should tell you," she said carefully, "that my meeting with Marcus tomorrow isn't just about considering his offer." Understanding dawned on Lucas's face. "You've already decided to take it." Emma nodded. "The opportunity is too good to pass up. It's the next step I've been working toward." "I understand," Lucas said, and she could see that he genuinely did. "It's the right career move." "It's not just about career," Emma admitted. "It's also about us." Lucas looked confused. "How so?" "I need to know if whatever's happening between us is real, or just the forbidden fruit syndrome. If I stay, we'll always wonder if our attraction is partly about the taboo, boss and employee, the power dynamic, the secrecy." She took a breath. "If I go to Visionary, we can start on equal footing. No professional complications, no whispers about favoritism, no doubts about why we're drawn to each other. Lucas was quiet for a long moment, considering her words. That's remarkably insightful. I've been overthinking this for days, Emma confessed with a small smile. So tomorrow you accept Visionary's offer, Lucas said slowly. And then what? For us, I mean. Then, Emma said, setting her wine glass beside his, we find out if this connection is as real as it feels, without the office politics and ethical dilemmas complicating things. Lucas's eyes lingered on her face. That sounds suspiciously like a dinner invitation, Peterson. It might be, she agreed, feeling a lightness she hadn't experienced in days. Once I'm officially not your employee anymore. 2 weeks then, Lucas said, referencing the standard notice period. I'll try to be patient. The tension between them had shifted from anxious to anticipatory. For the first time since her email mishap, Emma felt like they were moving towards something rather than circling an impossible situation. I should go, she said, though she made no move to stand. Early meeting tomorrow. Of course. Lucas walked her to the door. At the threshold he paused. For what it's worth, Emma, I think you're making the right decision. For your career, and maybe for us too. I hope so, she replied softly. They stood there for a moment, caught in the same liminal space they'd occupied since Friday night, no longer just colleagues, not yet anything more. Good night, Lucas, Emma said finally. Good night. And Emma? He smiled, the first truly unguarded smile she'd seen from him. I'm looking forward to taking you to dinner when you're not my employee anymore. Me too, she admitted, returning his smile before stepping into the hallway. As she rode the elevator down, Emma felt a curious mixture of emotions, nervousness about the new job, sadness about leaving Bennett and Crowell, but underlying it all, a quiet excitement about the possibilities that lay ahead, both professionally and personally. Whatever happened next, at least she'd be facing it on her own terms. You're really doing this, Olivia said, watching Emma pack up her desk on her final day at Bennett and Crowell. I still can't believe you're leaving. It's the right move, Emma replied, carefully wrapping the small potted succulent that had brightened her workspace for the past year. Visionary's offering me opportunities I might have waited years for here, and it has nothing to do with a certain creative director. Olivia raised an eyebrow. Emma glanced toward Lucas's office, where he was engaged in what appeared to be an intense phone conversation. It has everything to do with my career, she said firmly. Then lowering her voice she added, but the personal complications didn't hurt the decision. The 2 weeks since Emma had accepted Visionary's offer had been a whirlwind. Her resignation had been met with a mixture of congratulations and barely concealed curiosity about the real reason for her departure. Lucas had maintained impeccable professional distance, their interactions limited to necessary work conversations and the occasional text about transitioning her projects to other team members. It was Sarah who approached her desk now, carrying a small gift bag. A little farewell present, she said, handing it to Emma. Nothing fancy, just a notebook I thought you might like. Emma pulled out a beautiful leather-bound journal embossed with her initials. Sarah, this is gorgeous. Thank you. Sarah smiled. Consider it an investment in your future. Great ideas deserve beautiful places to live. She lowered her voice slightly. And, for what it's worth, I think you're making a smart move, professionally speaking. The emphasis on the last 2 words told Emma that Sarah had guessed at least part of her motivation for leaving. I appreciate that, Emma replied. And everything you've taught me this past year. You're going to excel at Visionary, Sarah said. Just remember us when you're winning all those industry awards. As Sarah walked away, Emma's phone buzzed with a text from Lucas. Stuck on this call. Farewell drinks still on for tonight? Porterhouse 7 p.m. Emma replied quickly. Wouldn't miss it. The farewell gathering had been organized by her colleagues, a chance to say proper goodbyes outside the office environment. Emma wasn't sure if Lucas's attendance was purely professional courtesy or something more, given that they'd barely spoken about personal matters since her decision. By 6:30, Emma had cleared her desk, handed in her security badge, and said her goodbyes to the team. Only one task remained, a final conversation with Lucas. His call had ended, and his office door stood open. Emma knocked lightly on the frame. "Got a minute?" she asked. Lucas looked up, his expression warming as he saw her. "Of course. Come in." Emma entered, suddenly awkward in this familiar space. "I wanted to say a proper thank you for everything you've taught me this past year, for being a mentor." "You don't need to thank me, Emma. Your work spoke for itself." Lucas leaned back in his chair. "Marcus Conrad is lucky to have you." There was something in his tone, not jealousy exactly, but perhaps a touch of wistfulness. Emma found herself wondering if he was thinking about their professional relationship or the personal one they'd barely begun to explore. "Will I see you tonight?" she asked. "Absolutely. I wouldn't miss your send-off." He hesitated, then added, "Though I was thinking, if you're free after, maybe we could grab a nightcap, somewhere quieter." The suggestion sent a small thrill through Emma. "I'd like that." Lucas nodded, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Good. Then I'll see you in a bit, Peterson." It felt strange walking out of Bennett and Crowell for the last time. For nearly a year, this place had been central to Emma's life, the source of stress and satisfaction, challenges and triumphs. Now she was leaving, heading towards something new and uncertain. The farewell drinks were exactly what Emma needed, a chance to celebrate with colleagues who had become friends, to reminisce about shared projects and inside jokes, to promise to stay in touch, despite knowing that industry friendships often faded when no longer sustained by daily interaction. Lucas arrived fashionably late, making a brief speech about Emma's contributions that managed to be both professional and warmly personal. He circulated through the gathering, spending time with various team members, only occasionally catching Emma's eye across the room with a look that made her heart beat a little faster. As the evening wound down and people began to leave, Lucas made his way to Emma's side. "Ready for that nightcap?" he asked quietly. "Let me just say the last few goodbyes," she replied. 20 minutes later, they were settled in a quiet corner of a nearby cocktail bar, the dim lighting and soft jazz creating a decidedly different atmosphere from the boisterous farewell gathering. "So," Lucas said after their drinks arrived, "how does it feel to be a free agent for the weekend before starting your new chapter?" "Surreal," Emma admitted. "I've been at Bennett and Crowell my entire professional career." "Having second thoughts?" Emma shook her head. "No, just acknowledging that change is always a little scary, even when it's the right move." "And is it?" Lucas asked, his eyes intent on hers. "The right move. Professionally, absolutely." She took a sip of her cocktail. "As for the other aspects, I guess we'll find out." A small smile played across Lucas's face. "I suppose we will." He raised his glass slightly. "To new beginnings." "New beginnings," Emma echoed, clinking her glass against his. The conversation flowed easily after that, moving from work to books to travel to childhood memories. Without the constraints of their professional relationship, Lucas seemed more relaxed, more willing to share personal stories and opinions. Emma found herself laughing more freely, letting down guards she hadn't even realized she'd maintained in his presence. "You know," Lucas said as their second round of drinks arrived, "I've been thinking about what you said, about starting on equal footing. You were right. This already feels different." "Good different?" "Definitely good." His eyes held hers. "Though I will miss seeing you in the office every day." The admission warmed Emma more than the alcohol. "You'll manage," she teased. "Besides, New York isn't that big. Our paths will cross." "I'm counting on more than chance encounters," Lucas said, his tone light but his eyes serious. "Are you asking me out, Bennett?" "I believe I am, Peterson." He leaned forward slightly. "Dinner tomorrow night? Somewhere neither of us has been to properly mark this new chapter?" "I'd like that," Emma replied, feeling a flutter of anticipation. They lingered over their drinks, neither seemingly eager to end the evening. When they finally left, Lucas walked Emma to her subway station. "I'd offer to drive you home," he said. "But I think we're both trying to do this right. Take it slowly." Emma appreciated his restraint, even as part of her wondered what would happen if they didn't take it slowly at all. "Probably wise," she agreed. "Tomorrow, then? I'll text you the details in the morning." He hesitated, then leaned in and brushed his lips against her cheek, his hand lightly touching her waist. "Good night, Emma." The brief contact sent a current through her body. "Good night, Lucas." As Emma descended into the subway station, she couldn't help but smile to herself. Whatever happened with her new job, at least this part of her decision was already proving worthwhile. Saturday morning dawned bright and clear. Emma woke feeling lighter somehow, the weight of office politics and ethical complications temporarily lifted. She spent the morning cleaning her apartment, a task she'd neglected during the hectic final weeks at Bennett and Crowell, and then met Olivia for a late brunch. "So," Olivia said, as they settled at their favorite cafe, "how was the nightcap with Sexy Boss Man? Except he's not your boss anymore, is he? Just Sexy Man now?" Emma rolled her eyes. "It was nice, normal. We talked, had a couple of drinks, said goodnight." "That's it?" Olivia looked disappointed. "No dramatic declarations, no passionate kisses in the rain?" "It wasn't raining," Emma pointed out. "And no, nothing dramatic. We're having dinner tonight." "A proper date," Olivia grinned. "Finally, where's he taking you?" "I don't know yet. He's texting me the details later." Emma's phone buzzed as if on cue. That might be him now. She checked the message, expecting dinner plans from Lucas. Instead, it was from Marcus Conrad. "Emma, hate to disrupt your weekend, but we've had an unexpected development with the Lux Hotel's pitch. Any chance you could come in tomorrow for a few hours? Would be valuable to have your perspective before you officially start Monday." Emma frowned slightly. She'd been looking forward to a full weekend to decompress before starting her new role. "Problem?" Olivia asked. "Marcus wants me to come in tomorrow for the Lux Hotel's pitch." "Before you've even officially started?" Red flag. Emma shook her head. "It's not unusual in advertising. Pitches wait for no one." She typed a quick response. "No problem. What time?" Marcus replied immediately. "Wonderful. 11 a.m. I'll make sure there's adequate caffeine." As Emma put her phone down, Olivia gave her a knowing look. "Already back to putting work first? Some things never change." "It's just a few hours," Emma protested, "and it's a good opportunity to hit the ground running at Visionary." Olivia took a sip of her mimosa. "Just make sure you don't fall into the same workaholic patterns at the new place. Speaking of which, what are you wearing tonight?" The conversation shifted to outfit options, a welcome distraction from Emma's slight unease about Marcus's request. By the time they finished brunch, her phone had another message, this time from Lucas. "Dinner reservations at 11 Madison Park, 8 p.m. Too formal for a first date? Maybe, but I've been waiting nearly a year to take you somewhere special, so indulge me this once?" Emma stared at the message. 11 Madison Park was one of the most exclusive restaurants in the city, nearly impossible to get into without booking months in advance, unless you had serious connections. "How did you manage to get a Saturday night reservation at EMP on one day's notice?" she texted back. "The chef's sister works in advertising. I helped her land her first major account. Consider it one of the few perks of being in this industry too long." Emma smiled at his response. "In that case, I accept your indulgence. See you at 8. The rest of the afternoon passed in a flurry of preparation. Emma spent more time than she'd care to admit, selecting the right outfit, eventually settling on a black cocktail dress that struck the perfect balance between elegant and understated. By the time Lucas texted that he was downstairs, her stomach was fluttering with a mixture of excitement and nerves that reminded her of her first ever grown-up date. Lucas was waiting beside a taxi, looking devastatingly handsome in a dark suit without a tie, formal enough for the restaurant, but relaxed enough to suggest this was definitely not a business dinner. "You look beautiful," he said simply as she approached. "You clean up pretty well yourself," she replied, accepting his light kiss on her cheek. The restaurant was everything its reputation promised: impeccable service, innovative cuisine, an atmosphere of refined elegance without stuffiness. What surprised Emma most, however, was how comfortable she felt with Lucas outside the office context. Without the constant awareness of their professional relationship, conversation flowed naturally, punctuated by laughter and moments of connection that felt both new and somehow familiar. "I have a confession to make," Lucas said as they were finishing their main course. "I've wanted to do this, take you to dinner, just the two of us, without work hanging over us, since about 3 months after you started at Bennett and Crowell." Emma raised her eyebrows. "Really? That long?" He nodded. "There was a presentation you gave for the Meridian account. You were so passionate, so articulate, so completely in command of the material. I remember thinking, this woman is extraordinary, and then immediately thinking, and she works for you, so get it together, Bennett." The admission sent a pleasant warmth through Emma. "I had no idea. You always seemed so professionally detached." "That was the point," Lucas said with a rueful smile. "I've always believed in maintaining clear boundaries at work. Until your email made me question whether some boundaries are worth reconsidering." "The email that launched 1,000 office rumors," Emma said dryly. "The email that forced us both to acknowledge something we'd been dancing around for months," Lucas countered. "In retrospect, perhaps the most fortunate mistake of your career." "I wouldn't go that far," Emma laughed. "But I'm starting to think it might have been a blessing in disguise." As they shared a dessert, a deconstructed chocolate creation that was as much art as food, Lucas asked about her new position. "Nervous about Monday?" "A little," Emma admitted. "Though Marcus has already asked me to come in tomorrow for a pitch meeting." Lucas's eyebrows rose slightly. "On a Sunday? Before you've officially started? Apparently there's been some development with the Lux Hotels pitch." A flicker of something crossed Lucas's face. "Lux Hotels? That's interesting. Why?" He hesitated. "It's nothing, just industry gossip." "Lucas," Emma said, setting down her fork, "if there's something I should know about Lux or Visionary, tell me." He sighed. "It's probably nothing. But there have been rumors that Lux is using Visionary as leverage in negotiations with their current agency. They're not actually planning to switch." Emma frowned. "Where did you hear that?" "Robert Daniels, Lux's marketing director, is an old friend. We had lunch last month and he mentioned they were exploring options but seemed happy with their current representation." Lucas shrugged. "But things change quickly in this business. I could be wrong." The information unsettled Emma slightly, but she pushed it aside. "Well, I guess I'll find out tomorrow. Just be aware that Marcus Conrad is known for being strategic in how he deploys new talent." Lucas's tone was careful. "He's brilliant, but he plays a long game." "What exactly are you suggesting?" "Nothing specific. Just that Marcus may have multiple motives for bringing you on board." Lucas reached across the table to touch her hand. "I'm not trying to undermine your new position, Emma. I want you to succeed. I just—" He paused, seemingly searching for the right words. "I want you to go in with your eyes open." Emma appreciated his concern, even as she wondered if there was a hint of professional jealousy beneath it. "I'll be fine," she assured him. "I didn't accept the position naively." Lucas nodded, visibly deciding to drop the subject. "Of course you didn't. You're the most clear-eyed person I know." The rest of the evening passed pleasantly, the conversation turning to lighter topics. When the bill came, Lucas waved away Emma's offer to split it. "Please, this one's on me. You can get the next one." "Already assuming there will be a next one?" Emma teased. "Hoping," he corrected, his eyes warm. Outside the restaurant, the September night was unexpectedly chilly. Emma shivered slightly, and Lucas immediately removed his jacket, draping it over her shoulders. "Such a gentleman," she said, pulling the jacket closer. It smelled faintly of his cologne. "Only when it counts," he replied with a smile. They decided to walk for a while, neither quite ready to end the evening. As they strolled through the quieter streets of the East Village, Lucas's hand found hers, their fingers intertwining naturally. It was such a simple gesture, yet it felt significant, the first public acknowledgement of whatever was developing between them. "This feels surreal," Emma admitted as they turned down a tree-lined street. "A month ago, I was just another employee with an inappropriate crush on her boss. And I was just a boss, trying very hard not to notice how compelling that particular employee was," Lucas added, squeezing her hand lightly. "Now look at us." "Where exactly are we looking?" Emma asked, suddenly curious about how Lucas viewed their situation. He stopped walking, turning to face her. "I'm not entirely sure," he admitted, "but I'd like to find out, if you would." The honesty of his response was refreshing. No grand declarations, no excessive promises, just a genuine interest in exploring possibilities together. "I would," Emma said simply. Lucas's smile in response was worth all the complications of the past few weeks. He stepped closer, his free hand coming up to gently touch her cheek. "May I?" he asked softly. Emma nodded, her heart beating faster as Lucas leaned in and finally, after months of professional distance and weeks of tension, kissed her. It was gentle at first, almost tentative, but deepened as Emma responded, her hand coming up to rest against his chest. When they eventually pulled apart, Lucas rested his forehead against hers for a moment. "I've been wanting to do that since you walked into my office for your interview," he confessed. "That would have been highly inappropriate," Emma murmured, smiling. "Extremely." He kissed her again briefly. "Worth the wait, though." They resumed walking, hands linked again, the comfortable silence between them charged with new awareness. By unspoken agreement, they began heading in the direction of Emma's apartment. "Would you like to come up?" Emma asked when they reached her building, then quickly added, "Just for coffee or another drink. No pressure." Lucas seemed to consider this, then shook his head regretfully. "I think I should get home. Early meeting tomorrow, unfortunately." Emma tried not to feel disappointed, reminding herself that taking things slowly had been her idea in the first place. "Of course," she said. "I should rest anyway if I'm going into visionary tomorrow." Lucas stepped closer again, his hands settling lightly on her waist. "I had a wonderful time tonight, Emma. So did I." He kissed her again, longer this time, leaving her slightly breathless when they finally separated. "Call me tomorrow?" he asked. "After your meeting? I'd like to hear how it goes." "I will," she promised. With a final, gentle kiss, Lucas hailed a taxi and was gone, leaving Emma standing on her doorstep with his jacket still draped over her shoulders, and a smile she couldn't quite suppress. Sunday morning, Emma dressed carefully for her unofficial first day at Visionary, professional but not overly formal, given the weekend timing. She returned Lucas's jacket reluctantly, having slept with it beside her bed like some lovesick teenager. Visionary's offices were in a converted factory building in Chelsea, all exposed brick, steel beams, and enormous windows. Despite being Sunday, the space was buzzing with activity when Emma arrived. Marcus greeted her in the lobby, looking fresh and energetic despite the weekend work session. "Emma, thank you for coming in. I know it's your last day of freedom before the corporate machine reclaims you." He gave her a quick hug. "Coffee's in the conference room, along with the rest of the pitch team." The conference room was sleek and modern, with a stunning view of the Hudson River. 4 people were already seated around the table, all looking up with interest as Emma entered. "Everyone, this is Emma Peterson, our newest senior strategist," Marcus announced. "Emma, meet the Lux Hotel's pitch team." Introductions were made quickly. Diane, the account director, Ryan, the creative lead, Jen from media planning, and Alexis, a junior strategist. All were welcoming, though Emma detected a hint of wariness from Alexis. "So," Marcus said once everyone was settled with coffee, "let's bring Emma up to speed on where we are with Lux." What followed was a comprehensive overview of the pitch strategy. The work was solid, if somewhat safe. Luxury hotel marketing tended to follow certain conventions, but Emma was surprised by how preliminary it seemed for a pitch that was apparently imminent. "When exactly is the presentation?" she asked during a pause. "Friday," Marcus replied. "We've got 5 days to pull this together." Emma blinked in surprise. "That's aggressive." Marcus smiled. "We thrive under pressure here. That's why I wanted you to see this today. Fresh eyes might spot opportunities we're missing." As the meeting progressed, Emma found herself increasingly engaged despite her initial reservations. The team was talented, and the challenge of creating something compelling on a tight deadline was energizing. She offered several suggestions that were met with enthusiasm, particularly from Ryan, who seemed relieved to have strategic backup. When they broke for lunch, gourmet sandwiches delivered to the conference room, Marcus pulled Emma aside. "What do you think so far?" "The team is strong," she replied diplomatically. "The approach needs refining, but there's potential." Marcus nodded. "My thoughts exactly, which is why I'd like you to lead the strategic direction on this pitch." Emma stared at him. "Starting today, before I've officially joined?" "Consider it a baptism by fire," he said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Alexis has done good preliminary work, but this needs your level of experience." Emma glanced toward Alexis, who was watching them with barely concealed anxiety. "I'm not comfortable stepping on toes my first day." "No toes to step on," Marcus assured her. "Alexis understands. She's learning. This is why we hired you, Emma, to elevate our strategic approach." Something about the situation felt off, but Emma couldn't quite place what was bothering her. Lucas's warning about Marcus's long game echoed in her mind. "What exactly is the timeline here?" she asked carefully. "When did Lux agree to hear this pitch?" Marcus's expression remained pleasant, but something flickered in his eyes. "They approached us about 3 weeks ago, said they were exploring options." 3 weeks ago," Emma repeated. "Around the same time you reached out to me." "Coincidental timing," Marcus replied smoothly. "But fortunate. Your experience with premium brands is exactly what we need for this pitch." Emma wasn't entirely convinced, but she nodded. "I'll do what I can to help." "Excellent. Let's rejoin the others." The afternoon stretched into evening as they refined the pitch strategy. Emma found herself taking an increasingly central role, partly by Marcus's design and partly because the team genuinely seemed to value her input. By 7 p.m., they had a solid strategic direction and were beginning to flesh out creative concepts. "I think that's enough for a Sunday," Marcus announced finally. "Let's reconvene tomorrow morning." "Emma, official welcome day postponed. You're jumping straight into the Lux pitch." As the team packed up, Emma's phone buzzed with a text from Lucas. "How's the Sunday session going? Still on for that call later?" Emma glanced at the time, realizing she'd completely lost track of the hours. "Just wrapping up, call in an hour." "Perfect. Looking forward to it." Marcus approached as she put her phone away. "Dinner?" he suggested. "The team usually grabs something after these sessions." Emma hesitated, then shook her head. "I should head home. I've got some calls to make." "Of course." Marcus walked her to the elevator. "You were impressive today, Emma. Exactly what we hoped for when we brought you on board." "Thank you," she replied, still feeling vaguely unsettled. "See you tomorrow." Outside, Emma took a deep breath of the evening air, trying to sort through her conflicting impressions of the day. The work itself had been engaging, the team talented, but something about Marcus's approach, the timing of the pitch, and his eagerness to have her lead so immediately felt calculated in a way she couldn't quite define. Once home, she called Lucas as promised, oddly relieved to hear his voice. "So, how was your preview of Visionary?" he asked after they'd exchanged greetings. "Interesting," Emma replied carefully. "They've asked me to lead strategy on the Lux Hotel's pitch." There was a brief silence on the other end. "Already, before you've officially started." "That was my reaction too." Emma kicked off her shoes, settling onto her couch. "It feels rushed." The pitch is Friday, but the work seems very preliminary for something that's supposedly been in development for weeks. What's your gut telling you? Lucas asked. Emma considered this, that Marcus brought me in specifically for this pitch, that maybe they're not as far along with Lux as he implied. She hesitated, then added, I'm wondering if what you heard might be accurate, that Lux isn't seriously looking to switch agencies. It's possible, Lucas acknowledged. Using a competing pitch to leverage better terms with their current agency is a common enough tactic. So I might be walking into a situation where we're just being used as a negotiating tool. It wouldn't be the first time in this industry, Lucas said. But that doesn't mean you can't deliver excellent work and make an impression. Even if Lux stays put, other clients will notice a strong pitch. His perspective was helpful, reminding Emma that politics and ulterior motives were hardly unique to Bennett and Crowell. The advertising world operated on relationships, leverage, and sometimes carefully orchestrated performances. You're right, she said. I'll focus on the work itself. That's what I was hired for after all. They talked for a while longer, the conversation drifting from work to more personal topics. Emma found herself smiling as Lucas recounted his dinner with an old college friend, enjoying the easy rapport they were developing outside their former work relationship. I should let you go, Lucas said eventually. You've got a big day tomorrow, official first day and all. Apparently my official welcome has been postponed, Emma replied. It's straight to the Lux pitch now. Well, good luck. You're going to be brilliant, as always. Thank you. Emma hesitated, then added, I had a really nice time last night. She could hear the smile in Lucas's voice when he replied, So did I, very much looking forward to doing it again, soon. I'd like that. After they hung up, Emma sat for a moment, reflecting on the contrast between her evening with Lucas and her day at Visionary. Both represented new beginnings, new possibilities, yet one felt warm and genuine, while the other carried undertones she couldn't quite decipher. As she prepared for bed, Emma reminded herself that every job had its politics, its hidden agendas. What mattered was how she navigated them. If Marcus Conrad had recruited her specifically for the Lux pitch, so be it. She would deliver her best work, regardless of the underlying motivations. Still, as she drifted towards sleep, Emma found her thoughts turning not to tomorrow's challenges at Visionary, but to Lucas. His smile, his kiss, the feeling of his hand in hers as they walked through the city streets. Whatever complications awaited in her new professional role, at least that part of her life suddenly seemed refreshingly uncomplicated. New beginnings, indeed. Emma's first official week at Visionary passed in a blur of late nights and strategy sessions. The Lux Hotel's pitch consumed everything, with normal onboarding rituals postponed indefinitely. By Thursday evening, Emma's suspicions about the rushed timeline had solidified into certainty. Marcus had brought her on specifically for this pitch, leveraging her experience with premium brands. Final run-through, Marcus announced, gathering the team in the main conference room. Emma, you'll open with the strategy overview, then Ryan will present the creative. Diane handles the budget and implementation timeline. Emma nodded, reviewing her notes. The strategy was solid. She'd made sure of that, though she remained unconvinced that Lux was seriously considering a switch from their current agency. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lucas. Dinner tomorrow night? Regardless of how the pitch goes, you deserve to celebrate surviving your first week. The message brought a smile to her face. Despite the hectic schedule, they'd managed 2 phone calls and a quick coffee during the week. Each interaction reinforced her sense that whatever was developing between them was worth exploring. It's a date, she replied. I'll text when we're done. The pitch rehearsal went smoothly, with minor adjustments to the presentation flow. By 9 p.m. they were as prepared as they could be for tomorrow's meeting. Get some rest, Marcus told the team. We need everyone sharp tomorrow. Outside, Emma hailed a taxi, exhausted but satisfied with the work they'd produced. As the cab navigated through Manhattan traffic, her phone rang, Lucas calling rather than texting. "Hey," she answered, unable to keep the tiredness from her voice. "You sound exhausted," Lucas said, concern evident in his tone. "Rough rehearsal?" "Just long, but we're ready." Emma leaned her head against the window. "How was your day?" "The usual chaos. North Star wants revisions on the campaign we just finalized." His voice softened. "But I'd rather hear about you. How are you feeling about tomorrow?" "And professionally confident, politically skeptical," Emma admitted. "I still think this might be a negotiating tactic by Lux." "Even so, deliver your best work. You never know who's watching." They talked until Emma reached her apartment, his voice providing a comforting counterpoint to the stress of the week. After they hung up, she collapsed into bed, setting multiple alarms to ensure she'd be perfectly prepared for tomorrow. The Lux pitch was scheduled for 11 at their corporate headquarters. Emma arrived with the team at 10:30, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit that projected confidence and creativity without trying too hard. Marcus made introductions to the Lux executive team, including Robert Daniels, the marketing director Lucas had mentioned. "Peterson," Daniels said as they shook hands. "Any relation to Bennett and Crowell's Emma Peterson?" "One and the same," Emma replied, watching his expression carefully. "I recently made the move to visionary." Something flickered across Daniel's face. Surprise, perhaps, or recalculation. "Interesting timing." Before she could respond, Marcus smoothly redirected the conversation, guiding everyone to their seats. Emma noted that several members of Lux's team were taking particular interest in her, whispering among themselves as Marcus began the introductions. The presentation itself went flawlessly. Emma delivered the strategy overview with confident precision, emphasizing Visionary's understanding of luxury hospitality positioning. Ryan's creative concepts were elegant and on brand. Throughout, Emma noticed Daniels watching her specifically, his expression thoughtful. During the Q&A session, he addressed a question directly to her. "Ms. Peterson, given your recent transition, what would you say Visionary offers that Bennett and Crowell doesn't in terms of luxury brand positioning?" The question was pointed, clearly designed to put her in an awkward position. Emma maintained her composure. "Both agencies have strong capabilities," she replied diplomatically. "Visionary's particular strength lies in its integrated approach to digital and experiential marketing, which is increasingly crucial in the luxury hospitality space." Daniels nodded, seemingly satisfied with her response, though Emma could tell he was probing for something specific. As the meeting concluded, Marcus made the standard closing remarks about next steps and timing. The Lux team was cordial but non-committal, exactly what Emma had expected. While the others packed up presentation materials, Daniels approached Emma. "I had lunch with Lucas Bennett last month," he said conversationally. "He spoke very highly of you." "That's kind of him," Emma replied carefully. "He didn't mention you were considering a move." Daniels studied her with undisguised curiosity. "Does he know you're leading this pitch?" Emma maintained her professional smile. "I imagine he does now." "Interesting situation." Daniels handed her his card. "If you'd like to discuss luxury hospitality positioning further, give me a call. I'd be interested in your perspectives, regardless of which agency Lux ultimately works with." The implication was clear. This was a personal networking opportunity, separate from the agency decision. Emma accepted the card with a nod of thanks, aware that Marcus was watching their exchange with barely concealed interest. Back at Visionary, Marcus gathered the team for a debrief. "Solid presentation, everyone. We'll know their decision next week." He turned to Emma. "What was Daniels discussing with you afterward?" "Professional networking," she replied evenly. "He knows Lucas Bennett." Something hardened in Marcus's expression. "Is that going to be a problem?" "Why would it be?" Emma countered, maintaining eye contact. "No reason." Marcus's tone was light, but his eyes were calculating. "I just want to ensure there are no conflicts of interest." Emma understood the implication immediately. Somehow, Marcus had heard about her personal connection with Lucas. The question was whether he'd known before hiring her, or had discovered it since. My personal relationships don't affect my professional commitments, she said firmly. Marcus nodded, though his expression remained skeptical. Good to know. Take the afternoon off. You've earned it after this week. As Emma gathered her things, Ryan approached her desk. Hey, just wanted to say you were amazing in there, he said quietly. But, a word of advice? Marcus doesn't like surprises. If there's anything he should know, better to tell him directly. Noted, Emma replied, wondering exactly how much of her personal life was now office gossip at her new workplace. Outside, Emma texted Lucas, "Pitch done. Went well professionally, politically complicated, definitely up for dinner tonight." His reply came quickly. "My place? I'll cook. Less public, more opportunity to talk." "Perfect. 7? See you then." Emma spent the afternoon decompressing, trying to sort through her impressions of her first week. The work itself was engaging, the team talented, but there was something about Marcus's leadership style, the subtle manipulations, the political calculations that left her uneasy. More concerning was his apparent interest in her personal relationship with Lucas, which felt invasively crossing professional boundaries. At 7, Emma arrived at Lucas's apartment, feeling the week's tension begin to dissipate as soon as he opened the door. He'd clearly come straight from work, his tie loosened and sleeves rolled up, but had still managed to prepare what smelled like an impressive dinner. "That good, huh?" he said, after greeting her with a kiss, noting her expression. "Let's just say it's been an educational first week," Emma replied, accepting the glass of wine he offered. Over dinner, a perfectly prepared pasta dish that revealed previously unknown culinary talents, Emma recounted the pitch and the strange interaction with Daniels. "He definitely knew who I was," she concluded, "and seemed very interested in my connection to you." Lucas considered this. Robert tends to play multiple angles. He's probably trying to figure out if your move to visionary indicates something broader. Perhaps that Bennett and Crowell is unstable, or that visionary is making strategic hires for a reason. "And Marcus clearly has concerns about my relationship with you," Emma added. "One of my colleagues basically warned me that he doesn't like surprises." "Are we a surprise?" Lucas asked, his tone deliberately light, though his eyes were serious. Emma met his gaze. "To Marcus, apparently, though I'm not sure why my personal life should matter to my new boss." "In advertising, everything's connected," Lucas said. "Marcus is probably wondering if I sent you to Visionary as some kind of corporate spy." The absurdity of the suggestion made Emma laugh. "If only my life were that exciting." "Speaking of excitement," Lucas said, his expression softening, "I've been thinking about you all week." The simple admission warmed Emma more than the wine. "I've been thinking about you too. More than is probably sensible given how busy I've been." After dinner, they moved to the couch with fresh glasses of wine. The conversation shifted from work politics to more personal topics. Childhood memories, favorite books, travel aspirations. It felt remarkably comfortable, as if they'd been having these conversations for years rather than days. "I'm glad you came to Visionary," Lucas said eventually, his hand finding hers. "Not just for selfish reasons, though those are compelling too." "Oh?" Emma raised an eyebrow, enjoying the feel of his thumb tracing circles on her palm. "I think it's good for you professionally, regardless of Marcus's agenda or the luck situation. You've outgrown Bennett and Crowell." The assessment surprised her. "You never mentioned that when I worked for you." "Because it wasn't my place," Lucas admitted. "I wanted to keep you on my team for as long as possible, but I always knew you'd eventually need a bigger playing field." His honest acknowledgement of this conflict of interest, wanting what was best for her professionally while also wanting to keep her close, touched Emma deeply. "Thank you for that," she said softly, "for seeing me as more than just a valuable employee." Lucas's eyes held hers. "I've always seen you as much more than that, Emma." The confession hung in the air between them, charged with meaning. Emma leaned closer, drawn by the intensity in his gaze. When their lips met, the kiss was different from their previous ones, deeper, more urgent, filled with a week's worth of anticipation. Lucas pulled back slightly, his breathing uneven. "If we keep going down this path, I'm not sure I'll want to stop." "Who says we need to stop?" Emma murmured, her hands sliding up to his shoulders. "Are you sure?" he asked, his self-control visibly strained. "I want to do this right. No rush." Emma smiled, appreciating his concern, but certain of what she wanted. "Lucas, we've been circling each other for nearly a year. I think we've shown remarkable restraint already." That was all the encouragement he needed. His next kiss was passionate, uninhibited, his hands tangling in her hair as she pressed closer. What followed was the discovery of each other. The taste of wine on his lips, the sound of her name whispered against her skin, the feeling of finally crossing a threshold they'd approached for so long. Later, lying in Lucas's bed with her head on his chest, Emma felt a sense of rightness that transcended the complexities of their situation. Whatever challenges awaited at Visionary, whatever Marcus's agenda might be, this connection with Lucas felt genuine and worth protecting. "What are you thinking?" Lucas asked softly, his fingers tracing patterns on her bare shoulder. "That I'm glad I sent that email," Emma admitted with a small laugh, as mortifying as it was at the time. "The email that changed everything," he agreed, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "Best professional mistake ever made." As Emma drifted towards sleep in Lucas's arms, she couldn't help but agree. Some mistakes, it seemed, were actually perfect accidents of timing, catalysts for changes that might otherwise have taken much longer to unfold. Whatever happened with Lux, with Visionary, with Marcus Conrad's mysterious agenda, Emma was increasingly confident that her decision to leave Bennett and Crowell had set in motion exactly the right chain of events. For the first time in weeks, she fell asleep without a single work-related worry on her mind. 3 months after the Lux Hotel's pitch, Emma sat in her office at Visionary, reviewing quarterly results. Her suspicions had been correct. Lux had ultimately remained with their existing agency, using Visionary's pitch to negotiate better terms. Marcus had been disappointed, but unsurprised, confirming Emma's theory about his strategic recruitment of her specifically for that presentation. Despite the political complexities, Emma had thrived at Visionary. She now led her own strategy team, working directly with several premium clients who appreciated her insightful approach. The professional growth she'd hoped for had materialized quickly, validating her decision to make the move. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lucas. "Still on for dinner tonight? Have news?" Emma smiled. Their relationship had deepened steadily over the past months, finding a comfortable rhythm despite their competing agencies. They'd been careful to maintain professional boundaries, never discussing confidential client information, respecting the ethical firewall between their work lives. It had been surprisingly manageable, perhaps because they both understood the industry's unwritten rules. "Absolutely, my place at 7. I have news too." Emma's news was significant. Marcus had appointed her Director of Strategy, a promotion that recognized her contributions and expanded her authority within the agency. It was the advancement she'd hoped for when leaving Bennett and Crowell, arriving even faster than expected. At 7 precisely, Lucas arrived at her apartment, a bottle of champagne in hand. "Celebrating something?" Emma asked, accepting his kiss. "Potentially," he replied with a mysterious smile. "Your news first." Over dinner, Emma shared her promotion details. Lucas listened attentively, genuine pride evident in his expression. "That's fantastic," he said, raising his glass. "Director of Strategy within 3 months. Impressive even by your standards." Marcus said the Berkshire financial campaign was the deciding factor, Emma explained, referring to the successful pitch she'd led the previous month. "Apparently, they specifically requested me as their strategic lead." Not surprising. That campaign concept was brilliant. Lucas's praise was professional as well as personal. He'd seen the public-facing elements of the work and had been genuinely impressed. "Your turn," Emma prompted. "What's your news?" Lucas set down his glass, his expression turning more serious. I've been offered a position at MDC Partners, Chief Creative Officer for their North American operations. Emma stared at him, processing the implications. MDC was one of the largest agency holding companies in the world. This would be a significant step up from his role at Bennett and Crowell. Lucas, that's incredible, she said finally. Congratulations. When would you start? That's the thing, he replied. I haven't accepted yet. It would mean relocating to Toronto, at least initially. The statement hung in the air between them. Toronto wasn't impossibly far from New York, but it would certainly change the comfortable routine they'd established. I see, Emma said carefully. Are you considering it seriously? Very seriously. Lucas reached across the table to take her hand. It's an exceptional opportunity professionally, but... He hesitated. It complicates things personally. Because of us, Emma stated simply. Because of us, he confirmed. 3 months ago, this decision would have been straightforward. Now, his eyes held hers, now I find myself weighing professional advancement against personal happiness. The admission touched Emma deeply. When do they need an answer? Next week. Lucas's thumb traced circles on her palm, a gesture that had become familiar and comforting. I wanted to discuss it with you first, to understand what it might mean for us. Emma considered this carefully. Their relationship had progressed naturally from cautious exploration to something deeper, more meaningful. Neither had put definitive labels on it, but Emma knew her feelings had evolved beyond simple attraction or compatibility. What are you thinking? Lucas asked, watching her process. I'm thinking, Emma said slowly, that I wouldn't want to stand in the way of an opportunity like this. But I'm also thinking that I'm not ready to give up on what we've started here. Lucas nodded, seeming to have expected this response. I've been looking into the logistics. Toronto to New York is only an hour-and-a-half flight. I'd have flexibility to work remotely part of each month. Long-distance relationships aren't easy, Emma pointed out. No, Lucas agreed, but some things are worth the effort. He paused, then added more quietly, some people are worth the effort. The statement wasn't quite a declaration, but it came close. Emma felt a surge of emotion at the realization that Lucas was factoring her significantly into a major career decision. We could make it work, she said finally, if we both want to. I want to, Lucas said without hesitation. The question is, do you? Emma considered the past 3 months, the easy conversations, the comfortable silences, the way Lucas challenged her intellectually while supporting her emotionally. What had begun as a workplace attraction had evolved into something far more substantial. I do, she replied simply. If this opportunity is right for you professionally, we'll figure out the rest. Relief and something deeper crossed Lucas's face. He stood, pulling her gently to her feet and into his arms. I was hoping you'd say that. Later that evening, curled together on Emma's couch, they discussed practical logistics, weekend visits, holiday planning, video calls. It wouldn't be easy, but neither seemed deterred by the challenges. There's something else I should mention, Lucas said, his tone deliberately casual. Part of the MDC role would eventually involve establishing a stronger New York presence. Within a year, I'd likely be splitting my time equally between Toronto and here. That would make things easier, Emma acknowledged. And, Lucas continued, MDC owns a minority stake in several independent agencies, including, interestingly enough, Visionary. Emma sat up straighter. What exactly are you saying? Nothing improper, he assured her, just that our professional worlds might not be as separate as they currently appear. MDC has been increasing its investments in boutique agencies like Visionary. There's industry speculation about eventual acquisition. Does Marcus know about your offer? Not yet, Lucas replied, though he will soon. The industry grapevine is remarkably efficient. Emma processed this new information, seeing the potential implications from multiple angles. So theoretically, at some point in the future, we might find ourselves aligned rather than competing, Lucas finished her thought, though that's speculation at this point. The conversation shifted to other topics, but the possibility remained in Emma's mind, a future where their professional and personal lives might harmonize rather than conflict. It was an appealing thought, though not one she'd bank on prematurely. 1 week later, Marcus called Emma into his office, his expression uncharacteristically direct. "I assume you've heard about Lucas Bennett's new position at MDC?" he asked without preamble. "I have," Emma replied carefully. Marcus studied her for a moment. "I also assume, given your personal connection, that you're aware MDC has been increasing its investment in Visionary over the past year." "Ooh." "Lucas mentioned something about a minority stake," Emma acknowledged. 15% currently," Marcus confirmed, with discussions ongoing about increasing that substantially. He leaned forward. "Emma, I've always appreciated your strategic thinking, so I'll be candid. These industry realignments present both opportunities and challenges." "How so?" "MDC is seeking stronger integration among its affiliate agencies. Bennett's appointment signals their serious intent in the North American market." Marcus's expression was calculating. "Your relationship with him could be valuable in navigating these transitions." Emma felt a flicker of discomfort. "I keep my personal and professional lives separate, Marcus." "Of course," he agreed smoothly. "I'm merely acknowledging realities. The advertising world runs on relationships, something I recognized when I hired you. Your connection to Bennett and Crowell's creative leadership was always an asset in my view." The admission confirmed what Emma had suspected from the beginning. Marcus had recruited her partly for her professional skills, but also for her connections and insider knowledge of a competitor. "Moving forward," Marcus continued, "I'd like you to take point on our MDC relationship management, given your new position as strategy director and your unique insights into their leadership thinking." The request was professionally reasonable while skating along ethical boundaries, exactly Marcus's style. "I'll consider it," Emma replied neutrally, "assuming appropriate firewalls are established." Marcus smiled, seemingly satisfied with her response. "Excellent, that's all for now." As Emma returned to her office, her phone buzzed with a message from Lucas. "Accepted the offer officially. Toronto-bound next month. Dinner tonight to celebrate strategize?" Emma smiled at the timing. "Definitely. Just had interesting chat with Marcus about MDC's stake in Visionary, much to discuss." "Advertising's a small world," Lucas replied, "getting smaller by the minute." That evening over dinner, Emma recounted her conversation with Marcus. "He wants me to manage the MDC relationship," she concluded, "clearly leveraging our personal connection." "Are you comfortable with that?" Lucas asked. Emma considered the question seriously. "Professionally, it makes sense. I understand both worlds now, but I don't want our relationship used as a corporate asset." "Welcome to the upper echelons of advertising politics," Lucas said wryly, "where personal and professional lines have always blurred." He reached for her hand. "We'll establish clear boundaries. Make sure both Marcus and my new employers understand the limits." "Speaking of boundaries," Emma said, "there's something else I've been considering. Marcus mentioned MDC is looking to increase its stake in Visionary." "That's the industry rumor," Lucas confirmed. "Nothing definitive yet. If that happens, if Visionary eventually becomes part of MDC, what would that mean for us professionally?" Lucas understood her concern immediately. "It would depend on the structure. Best case, we'd work for the same parent company but different agencies, no direct reporting relationship. Worst case, one of us might need to make a change," Emma finished. "Potentially," Lucas acknowledged, "but that's speculative at this point, and we've already proven we can navigate complicated professional situations." Emma nodded, though the possibility remained in her thoughts. The following month brought significant transitions. Lucas relocated to Toronto, beginning his new role at MDC. Emma settled into her position as strategy director, earning respect from her team and clients alike. Their relationship adapted to the distance. Weekend visits, nightly video calls, constant texts. It wasn't ideal, but it was workable. 3 months into this new arrangement, Lucas called with unexpected news. MDC is accelerating its acquisition strategy, he explained. They've made a formal offer to purchase a controlling interest in Visionary. Marcus is considering it seriously. Emma had suspected this might happen eventually, though the timing surprised her. How soon? Negotiations are ongoing, but possibly within the next quarter. Lucas paused. There's more. If the acquisition goes through, I'd be overseeing creative integration across all MDC properties, including Visionary. The implication was clear. Their carefully maintained professional separation would be compromised. Not a direct reporting relationship, but close enough to raise ethical questions. I've been thinking about this possibility, Emma admitted, and I've received an interesting call that might be relevant. Oh? Robert Daniels from Lux Hotels. Remember him? Of course, Lucas replied. What did he want? He's leaving Lux to start his own boutique consultancy focused on luxury hospitality, Emma explained. He's offered me a partnership position. Complete equity stake, ground floor opportunity. That's significant, Lucas said, clearly processing the implications. Are you considering it? I am, Emma acknowledged. It would mean building something from scratch, which is both terrifying and exciting, but it would also resolve any potential conflicts if MDC acquires Visionary. When does he need an answer? Within the month. Emma paused. There's one more factor. The consultancy would be based in Toronto initially, leveraging Robert's Canadian hospitality connections. There was a moment of silence as Lucas absorbed this information. Toronto, he repeated, where I happen to be currently based. Pure coincidence, I'm sure, Emma replied, unable to keep a smile from her voice. Emma Peterson, Lucas said, his tone a mixture of amusement and something deeper. Are you considering relocating to Toronto for me? I'm considering relocating to Toronto for an exceptional professional opportunity, she corrected. The fact that you happen to be there is merely a convenient bonus. Lucas laughed. Of course, purely professional considerations. Though, Emma added more seriously, the personal factors are certainly relevant to the decision-making process. How relevant? Lucas asked, his voice softening. Emma took a breath, deciding honesty was the best approach. Relevant enough that I've already researched Toronto neighborhoods and housing options. The admission hung in the air for a moment before Lucas responded. I love you, Emma. I should have said it weeks ago. The words, though not entirely unexpected, still sent a wave of emotion through her. I love you too, she replied simply, enough to brave Canadian winters, apparently. 4 weeks later, Emma sat in her Visionary office, finalizing her resignation letter. The decision had come more easily than expected. The partnership with Robert Daniels represented exactly the kind of opportunity she'd been working toward, a chance to build something that truly reflected her vision and values. Marcus took the news with practiced grace, though Emma detected genuine disappointment beneath his political exterior. MDC's acquisition is moving forward, he informed her during their exit interview. Your timing is either unfortunate or exceptionally strategic, depending on one's perspective. Let's call it fortuitous alignment of circumstances, Emma replied diplomatically. Marcus smiled slightly. Bennett's influence, no doubt. He always did have impeccable timing. He leaned back in his chair. For what it's worth, I think you're making the right move. Building your own consultancy offers freedoms corporate structures never can. Thank you, Marcus. I've learned a lot here. The door remains open, he said, surprisingly genuine, should your new venture not fulfill expectations. Emma's last day at Visionary was bittersweet. Farewells to colleagues who had become friends, pride in the work she'd accomplished, excitement about the path ahead. Lucas flew in for the weekend to help her pack her apartment and celebrate this new chapter. Full circle, he remarked as they shared a bottle of wine amid moving boxes. From that accidental email to international relocation. Quite a journey. Who would have thought a professional mistake would lead to all this? Emma gestured around them, indicating not just the physical changes, but the emotional evolution as well. Not a mistake, Lucas corrected, pulling her close. A catalyst. The email that finally forced us both to acknowledge what was already there. 6 weeks later, Emma stood in the new offices of Daniels and Peterson Luxury Consultancy in downtown Toronto, arranging her desk while snow fell gently outside the windows. The space was still taking shape. Modern, elegant, deliberately intimate compared to the sprawling agency environments she'd left behind. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lucas. "Dinner at 7 to celebrate your first official day? The Italian place you liked last week?" Emma smiled, typing back, "Perfect. Love you." The response came immediately. "Love you too. Proud of you, Peterson." As Emma returned to unpacking, she reflected on the circuitous path that had led her here. From a mortifying email mistake to leading her own consultancy. From an inappropriate crush on her boss to building a life with the man she loved. None of it had been planned or expected, yet somehow it had unfolded with its own perfect logic. Sometimes, Emma realized, the best things in life came from moments of imperfection. An email sent to the wrong address, a career path diverted, comfort zones abandoned. What had initially seemed like a catastrophic professional error had ultimately been the first step toward everything she now valued most, the slip of the tongue that changed everything indeed. What did you think of the story? Share your opinion in the comments. Rate this story from 0 to 10. What was your score? Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to follow all our stories and have fun.